really say I can judge their effectiveness till date, right? There have been complaints, and then there have been praises in different quarters on projects that they've done, and their impact in the area. So,
in other words, there hasn't been commensurate development.
Yes, and that is, like I said, the Nigerian factor. Because maybe if we consider the situation, perhaps they may have had issues in implementing some projects. If they have to deal direct through the local government, as would have been the normal case, or to deal direct with the state government, it would mean that they would take away the power to actually implement some of those projects from them. And to find a quote-unquote Nigerian solution to the problem, they have gone ahead and actually been the one implementing, those projects themselves, which is not the ideal, option, but it might be the one that would work for that particular situation.
Region. So in the next few weeks, we're actually hoping that we could, the guest, Ken Okolugbo, would have gotten to the studio because he was part of the Super Day. We were also hoping that a former member of the NDDC would have joined us to tell us how the NDDC runs so that he can also explain that to you. But let's look at this Southeast Development Commission bill, for instance. So the bill, prior to its passage, has like 30 clauses, and it seeks to establish a commission saddled with the responsibility of managing and administering funds received from the Federation account for the purpose of harnessing the commercial potential. So apparently this bill is more focused on the commercial side of things in the Southwest, because that region is believed to be a commercial hub.
Infrastructure and commerce is what the STDC is supposed to focus on, while the NEDC is supposed to be security and economic development. The NEDC is supposed to protect the region in the Niger Delta region, the citizens from exploitation by the oil and gas companies, and to ensure that the government intervention gets down to the grassroots. So there are specific objectives for each of the development commission. I think what we should be careful about generally as a country is to not politicize these, the objectives of these commissions, because the concern in some parts when the bill for the Northwest Development Commission came up is, we will be having a Southwest Development Commission. Will we also be having a Middle Belt Development Commission? Because there's actually no area of the country that does not actually need development. Right, it's quite rife all over. So we need to be careful. It's not just the setting up. But, it would interest you to know that there was a National Planning Commission established by an act in 1992. Now, if you read the objectives of the National Planning Commission, it is not different from many of the things that all these development commissions are doing. So it's not a paucity of ideas or thinking. It is how it is implemented that has been the problem. So I really don't have much of a problem with the creation of the NEDC or the NDDC. How are they delivering their mandate?
So who oversees them? Because now you talked about the National Planning Commission, which is now being transformed to the Ministry
of Budget and
National
bureaucratic, issues.
Exactly. So at the end of it, who supervises these development commissions? Would it be the Ministry of National Planning?
Ideally,
to help them stay in focus.
Ideally, it should be the, I don't want to say the Ministry of, because once it becomes a Ministry of, it becomes more democratic. Part of the reason for setting up development commissions is to remove it away from bureaucratic, to remove the bureaucratic process, the red tape for me, so you can get people in the community who are really willing to do something, qualified to do something about the development of that. That's the idea. So I would say that we need to put them, it would be nice to put all of them under a single umbrella, which would be the National Planning Commission. And the mandate of the National Planning Commission is very, very straightforward. Is to help regions develop, protect, the citizens there, encourage economic growth. Very, very simple, very, very straightforward objective. The Niger Delta Commission, I think President Yaradua established the Ministry of Niger Delta. And the Niger Delta Commission is now under the Ministry of Niger Delta.
Really?
Now, the SEDC bill is coming up 50-odd years after the Civil War. isn't it a bit too far along for this bill to be coming up? Or is the timing right now for this commission?
If we're talking about the timing, there isn't a bad time to start planning for development. So I wouldn't say the timing is either right or wrong, you know. And with relation to the 50-odd years since the war for it to come up, like I said before, we need to be careful not to politicize or tribalize the objectives, you know, of these commissions that are coming up. Some people may have mischievous intent, right, in setting it up. But I think we need to keep, the people need to keep the commissions focused and accountable on what they need to deliver for the people. It's not so much about coming after the civil war situation. We all know that there's an infrastructure deficit, you know, in many parts
so
of
what's
the
wrong with the
country,
Southwest now coming up to say they want a commission as the development commission?
If the Southwest can come up with a reasonable template and have it passed as a bill, right, for straightforward objective. Let me give you an example. One of the things that the SCDC will probably try to address is the second Niger bridge and the ports in that, you know, in those areas. And it's not because the government is not interested in doing it, or previous governments have not made attempts. The work is still going on, even as we speak. However, bureaucracy creates a very big problem for implementation. There's too much red tape to go over that before you know it, a long time has gone and nothing has really, you know, been achieved. The Development Commission is supposed to help sidestep all those, right, and provide technical and intellectual support to deliver.
The thing that the bill was first read in 2016.
Yes.
June 2016. Second reading, scale second reading in 2017.
Yes.
And in 2018, towards the end of the year, it is finally passed in the Senate. So, but there are those who are concerned about many bills that have been passed, some of them signed into law, but the effect of them are not seen. So
we cannot transfer our responsibility, right, to the lawmakers. Their obligation to us is to come up with laws that will benefit the people. Our obligation to ourselves is to hold them accountable.
Hold them accountable,
yes,
or hold the implementers
the
of
implementation,
the law?
Both the lawmakers, hold them accountable for what is the content of the bill, and then ensure that the implementer of, you know, the bill, whatever act is passed, that they are also doing it according to the structure that, you know, was laid down in the passage of the bill. That is our own responsibility. More often than not, we expect things to just work, and things don't just work. People make things work. We need to contribute, even ourselves. Most people do not know what their local government, if you go to a local government area now and you ask, what are the plans for this year in your local government? A lot of people have no idea. And you don't even hold your local government representative accountable for, hey, you're supposed to do this for us. All the rhetoric stops at election points. I will put AC on the streets and the rest of those. And then, you know, it's gone. So it's not the passage of the bill that's the challenge. How is it implemented? A number of bills will be passed. Some will be more effective than others. But the people need to know that the power is with us. And you need to have government officials accountable to us. Make sure that your local government or your SADC, as it may be, or NADC representatives, right, that they are actually delivering on the mandates of those, you know,
commissions. Well, Festus says that all these commissions are conduit pipes for corruption, period. And he's not the only one who has said this,
that may be fatalistic. Because we cannot have a blanket summation that everything is corruption. That means that nothing will get done, and then there should be no effort. And you know, that's just fatalism. It doesn't help anybody, and it's neither here, you know, nor there. The onus is on us. Okay, so they've set up the SCDC. What are the objectives of the SCDC? You would have representatives from your side on the SCDC. if they are not keeping with the mandate, you can go to their office and actually have, you know, a protest or an awareness or something, so that the message, the whole intent can be achieved. But you can't say because they have passed the bill and they should just go about doing it. Government really doesn't work that way. Government and governance needs inclusion and contribution from everybody, especially the electorate.
Now, the issues of these commissions, the various commissions that are coming up, we'll still look at them as regards their work. You know, I asked you a question about the role of the local governments. Yes, you talked about citizens holding them responsible and state government. But then, you know, the ministries that have all been set up, sometimes they get confused because you get to a site, project site, and you're wondering who's in charge, the commission or the ministry. But we'll look at them. We'll come back from this break. Please don't go away.